Hi there. I just wanted to do a review for Star Wars The Force Awakens, which I saw yesterday. I'm going to talk about spoilers, but I'll do that later on, not now. So if you just want my overall impression, I'll give that first and it'll be spoiler free. I thought it was a good movie. I would have given it 3.5 out of 5 stars. There were some elements that disappointed me. But generally speaking, I liked the new characters very much. I cared about them. I cared about what they were doing and what was happening to them. Especially Rey, she was really cool. And there were really characters that I care about and I want to see in the future too. I'm interested in seeing another installment to see what happens to them. Whereas I was concerned before I saw the movie that I might only care about the previous characters. That proved not to be the case, so that was really reassuring. However, there were some elements of the movie that, and a number of other people have said this, I know, that seemed, just a rehash of some plot developments from the original trilogy particularly. And I did feel that that was the case. It was a bit disappointing that they couldn't have had a bit more of a difference. I understand the idea of, maybe being an homage to the original trilogy or whatever, but you can take that so far, and then after that it gets a bit tedious and it looks like just copying. And so that was a problem. But there were enough interesting and new elements, even in the climax, to keep me interested in spite of that element of disappointment. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to now talk about some spoilers, so if you don't want to know what happens, then I suggest you stop watching now, because after this, the spoilers will be mentioned, including what I think is probably going to prove to be the major one. So I'll get to that down the track, but I'll start at the beginning. First things, when A Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away came on the screen, I sort of went, oh, because the 20th Century Fox theme wasn't there, and I noticed its absence, and it was a bit like, oh gee, it doesn't feel like Star Wars has actually started. But that was only a momentary thing, and after that it was kind of like I was sitting there like a little girl going, oh, this is great, this is new Star Wars. So that was really exciting. I love Rey. I love the fact that she lives in a fallen over AT-AT. I mean, I thought that was fantastic. Although I suppose there was an old one on Endor, but she's not on Endor, so I wondered what battle it was that got an AT-AT there, as well as the Imperial Star Destroyer and TIE Fighters and X-Wings. And some hardcore fans might be able to answer that question. Yeah, I didn't understand how all those things could go there. Obviously there were a lot of battles, so maybe this is just a place where there were some battles. I know later on they do say that that's sort of the junkyard planet, but there still seems a bit of a stretch to say that an Imperial Star Destroyer just ended up out in the middle of nowhere on this planet. Sure, if it was in a junkyard, I get that, but unless it maybe attracts metal to it or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, I love the fact that she lived in an AT-AT and she was this scavenger of metal parts waiting for her family, who she doesn't know who they are, neither do we, to come back. So that was really intriguing. I loved Finn. I believed in his character. He was very entertaining, and he was fantastic in the fact that I bought his struggle, and I liked the fact that from the start he sort of had this clear moral compass that said, I can't kill these villagers, I can't do that, that's wrong. And he just didn't. And then when he said, you're going to have to forgive me, I can't remember the name of the fighter pilot guy, the guy who's like Han Solo, I can't remember his name just off the top of my head. When he goes to save, Finn saves him, he simply does it because it's the right thing to do. And then automatically, once the TIE fighter they're in crashes on Jakku, he goes to try and find the droid that has the message. It's just another familiar theme. It's like, okay, we've got a droid that has a message in it that people need to see. And I can live with that one a bit more than the climactic copycat scene, because obviously this is a culture where they use droids to send messages and things like that. So I get that would be something that a lot of people would probably do. So I was okay with that one. Kylo Ren, I liked him. I initially, when I'd seen the advertising, I was a bit sort of going, oh gosh, he just looks like Darth Vader. But with the reveal that he is actually Darth Vader's grandson, I get why he would emulate Darth Vader, even though he doesn't need the mask. He's trying to be Vader. So I thought that was really cool when I realised that. I also liked the fact that he turned out to be Han and Leia's son, which I actually thought he would either be Han and Leia's son or Luke's son from somewhere along the way. I might add here at this point that I think it's entirely possible that Rey is Luke's daughter. I don't think she'd be Han and Leia's, because that might be a bit much to have a brother-sister thing, but a cousin thing I think would be really cool. So maybe Rey and Kylo Ren are actually related. And then you've got Luke's appearance, which, you know, or rather his disappearance probably first. He's not there, he's vanished, he's not around, which kind of worried me, because I thought, are we going to go the whole movie without seeing Luke? And by the time we were 3/4 of the way through, I was really worrying about that. But of course, no, you see him in the final scene, so that was a real relief. But it was interesting that they've got a map which is supposed to lead to him, which I found actually was a really poor plot development. Seriously, there's a map that tells you where he is? I mean, it just seemed really weak. And it's only a section of a map. And it was even dumber, I thought, when it was revealed R2-D2 probably has the full map, and R2's just sitting in a corner and he won't work. It's like, hello, he's a droid, take him apart and get the information out. Maybe a bit callous, but still, you know, if he's got information you think might lead you to Luke Skywalker and you want Luke Skywalker back, you make R2 give the information up. And that was a kind of disappointing element I found at the end. R2 suddenly awakens. I honestly thought he awoke at that point because Luke had returned, which I think would have been a better way to do it. But it's not that Luke's returned. R2 just spontaneously decides to wake up, which, you know, maybe because this other droid had the extra piece of the map in. But that plot development really seemed quite weak to me. The Han Solo plot development, with him having returned to smuggling, I kind of liked that idea. I liked the idea that Han's returned to his roots because, you know, probably because of the way his son has gone. You know, the grandson of Darth Vader, his son has become evil, and I can see that he would probably run away because he doesn't know how to deal with it. Leia's thrown herself into being a general. She's still in the military. She's involved in the fighting, which is where she's always been. So she's gone to what she feels comfortable with. Han's gone to what he feels comfortable with, which is back to smuggling again. And I thought that was an interesting development. And I loved the line where they're looking for a vehicle and Rey says, we're not taking that ship, that's a piece of garbage. And of course the piece of garbage turns out to be the Millennium Falcon. I thought that was brilliant. I loved that line and that scene. So that was fantastic. I loved the way Rey discovered her abilities and how she suddenly started to realise she had Jedi powers and was able to use them even greater than Kylo Ren can, even though he's had some training and she clearly has had none. So obviously she's going to be a significant force, no pun intended, as far as the Jedis go, which is fantastic. Very understandable too if she is Luke's daughter, which I kind of hope she is. Another thing just in passing, I love the way there were more women in it. Finally, we got a woman X-Wing pilot. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think in the full trilogies there has been a female X-Wing pilot anywhere, not that I can recall anyway. And I was really pleased there was finally one, and some other females, like a female commander for the Stormtroopers. And another thing too that I liked about Finn's story is we finally got to see a Stormtrooper as a human being. I mean, so often they're just cannon fodder. You know, they're just there to get shot. But, you know, here's one, and we actually see him inside the shell, and he becomes a human being to us. I also found it interesting, too, that in the opening scene with the villagers, the Stormtroopers can actually shoot and hit people. It's like, wow. But, of course, when they later on fight the good guys again, the Stormtroopers suddenly become bad shots again because they can't kill the heroes. Now, as I said earlier, I was disappointed that we've got another big weapon that's now just part of a planet rather than a star, but it still blows up another planet and is going to blow up the Resistance base, and the Resistance has to send X-Wings and other people in to blow it up. I found that a little bit disappointing and tedious that we've got that. It's, you know, they could have done better than that. surely something else was possible. However, having the plot with Han's fate, I found was enough of a difference that I didn't really care about that. But the fact is that I didn't care about the planet blowing. I knew that, of course, they're going to destroy the thing. They're going to blow up this huge super weapon. Of course they're going to do that. So it seemed almost irrelevant to me. It certainly wasn't anything near as powerful as Han's death, which was fantastically done. I thought as soon as I heard Harrison Ford was going to be in The Force Awakens, I thought I wouldn't be surprised if Han Solo was killed off, because of course in Return of the Jedi, Han was, from what I've heard, posturing to have him killed off, saying that it would give the trilogy some much needed depth. So I did wonder if he only came back on the agreement that they were going to kill Han. It's ironic that just as Han is killed, I thought Han had some fantastic character development in terms of his relationship with Leia, which is obviously strained now because their son has turned evil, and the conflict that must create in Han, that he has now fathered, and the next Darth Vader, which I thought was some great character development for Han. And it would have been interesting to see Harrison take that on in the future and develop it further. Not going to happen, of course, because I don't think Han is going to come back or can come back. He seems pretty soundly dead. So, that's kind of sad. It was sad in a lot of ways. As one of the main characters, it's extremely sad. But and I will not deny that I cried. But by the same token, it seemed a good way to go for him. He was trying, rather than just shooting at someone, he was trying to reach out and help his son, which was actually really moving, and very, very nicely done. And kudos to Harrison Ford for doing so well with that. That was fantastic. But yeah, it is sad that Han isn't going to be there anymore, and I can't get to see anything further with him. However, I'm really interested to see Luke and what he does in the next one. If they kill Luke off, I will be far less happy, I can tell you that. But it's very interesting to see now Luke there, and Han was in it too more than I thought he was going to be, which was great. So I'm hoping that in the next one Luke will be in it quite a bit too, which would be fantastic, and that he can train Rey, who was, as I said earlier, obviously quite talented. I'm just trying to think of other things, other elements that I forget what her name was, the character with the big goggles, who was kind of Yoda-like in a lot of ways, in the fact, who gave Rey the lightsaber, and which is another point actually. Why did the lightsaber call to Rey particularly? Is it because she's Luke's daughter and therefore Darth Vader's granddaughter, so being their lightsaber it called to her, or was it just because it was the only lightsaber she'd ever come in contact with? Not too sure about that, but it will be interesting to see how that's developed further, and yeah, I am looking forward to seeing how she moves on with being trained by Luke, which is what I assume will happen in the next one. Yeah, it was really interesting. I think J.J. Abrams did a really good job, and the script was pretty tight and had some good moments of humour too, which was really, really nice. I liked sort of Han sort of saying, when have I ever not delivered the goods? And they're all saying, well, actually, it's like this time and this time and this, and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was fantastic. And of course, the moment with the Millennium Falcon being a heap of garbage, as I said earlier, that was hugely funny. So yeah, I was really pleased. And apart from the planet with them having to destroy, because it was this huge weapon, and also the droid carrying a message thing, apart from those familiar plot lines, which were the only downside for me, the rest of it I thought was great, and I'm very much looking forward to the next one, and I will definitely be there on the first day to see what happens with that one. So thank you for watching. If you've got to the end of this, congratulations, and I hope to see more of you watching my clips in the future. Thanks. Bye.